actually a book release, a book that's been authored by the founder editor of TIOL, Mr. Shailendra Kumar, and is called 5 Years of Cobweb on GST, Threading the Needle. To take this evening forward, we would like to first welcome our esteemed dignitaries on stage, starting with Mr. D.P. Nagendra Kumar, former member, GST CBIC. Can we have Mr. Nagendra Kumar join us on the stage, please? Welcome once again, sir. We are also honored to have with us this evening former Judge, Honorable Supreme Court of India, Justice A.K. Patnaik. Thank you, gentlemen. And beyond honored to have with us in this gathering, Honorable Minister of Finance and Human Resource Management, Government of Tamil Nadu, Dr. P. Thiaga Rajan. Thank you, gentlemen, for joining us this evening. As I said, this is a special lap of the evening because we're going to release a very special book authored by none other than the founder editor of TIOL, Mr. Shailendra Kumar. I request him to please join the dignitaries on stage as we get ready to release the book, 5 Years of Cobweb on GST, Threading the Needle. Can we have the book copies on the stage, please? Thank you to all the dignitaries for releasing the book, and we will have Mr. Shailendra speak about it in a few moments now. But for now, it's time to move forward in the evening and confer a very special recognition award. This is a TIOL Special Recognition Award. To confer this award, I request Dr. P. Thiaga Rajan to do the honors. And it's being conferred upon an international tax expert, a motivational public speaker, author, professor, and a true champion of taxpayer education, eminent advocate and international tax consultant, and this is being awarded to him in recognition of his outstanding and noteworthy contribution as a champion of taxpayer education over the last 45 years. Ladies and gentlemen, with a huge round of applause, please offer a grand welcome to Advocate Mukesh Patel. Many congratulations to you, Advocate Mukesh Patel. You've been spreading the message, spreading a lot of tax education over the last 45 years. We request you to spare 2 moments and just say a few words.
A very good evening to the distinguished guests on the dais and at this very eventful Tax Congress of Tax India Online, the Knowledge Foundation, spearheaded by a very dynamic leader and a good friend of mine, also from the world of journalism, Dr. Shailendra Kumar ji. Nostalgia comes up my mind. My mind drifts back to the early 70s when I was a student of Sir L.A. Shah Law College of the Gujarat University, pursuing my legal education. And I was fortunate to be mentored and inspired. Those who fired my imagination with something that I took up as a vision, mission, and passion, along with my profession of practicing tax. My two mentors, the towering legal luminary, Justice Patnaik will fondly recall his name, the late Mr. Justice V.R. Krishnaiyer, a champion of legal aid who motivated me that not just for your own pocket money, but for the cause of the common taxpayer, Mukesh, you will write, you will speak, you will raise your voice whenever required. And I have incessantly done this, continuing it even today, over 45 years, through English and Gujarati print media. I have written 4,500 articles and look forward to the prayers of Lord Almighty that He gives me strength to cross the 5,000 mark. I have been fortunate. I was amongst the first who started presenting tax shows on TV channels right from 2000, 2001 and onwards. And over these years, in so many popular English and Hindi channels, I've had the privilege of presenting more than 500 tax shows. I've been fortunate in writing over 50 book editions that have seen the light of the day. I only remember another great person, the one and only, because nobody can come anywhere near to him as well. My budget guru, again, with whom I interacted and I was inspired from my college days, the late Shri Nani Palkhiwala. Justice Krishnaiyer on one hand, and Nani Palkhiwala, from whom I learned the art of budget analysis. And starting from 1977, the budget presented by Shri H.M. Patel, until date, I have not missed a single budget. 46 years of continuous budget analysis. And here again, with your blessings, the goal is even to cross the Diamond Jubilee. Ladies and gentlemen, I am deeply honored on this occasion. Thank you, Shailendra ji. Thanks, Tax India Online. I am going to stay over to meet one of my great admired finance ministers who is being presented the Fiscal Heritage Award tomorrow, Dr. Manmohan Singh. And since I'll not be speaking tomorrow, I want to end with a couplet of his. We were discussing just before this session, sir, about GST 2. and that we can become world class. And I am reminded of the couplet with which Dr. Manmohan Singh started his budget presentation way back in 91-92, which turned around the future of Indian economy. When he rose to quote Iqbal, saying, यूनान मिस्र रोम सब मिट गए जहां से बाकी मगर है अब तक नामो निशान हमारा कुछ बात है कि हस्ती मिटती नहीं हमारी सदियां रहा है दुश्मन दौरे जहां हमारा सारे जहां से अच्छा हिंदुस्तान हमारा. Friends, India is bound to rise and rise tall amongst the committee of nations. With that, I sincerely acknowledge this honor and recognition bestowed on me, hoping that it will inspire me and many others to work for this noble cause. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Advocate Mukesh Patel. Many congratulations for this recognition, and may you keep inspiring and motivating us for years to come. Moving forward, ladies and gentlemen, I would now like to invite onto the dais Mr. D.P. Nagendra Kumar, former member GST CBIC, to share a few words with us.
Honorable Minister for Taxation and Human Resource Management, Govt of Tamil Nadu, Dr. Thiaga Rajan, Honorable Justice, revered legal luminary, Shri Patnaik ji, all the distinguished participants in this gathering. At the outset, I must express gratitude for TIOL for having invited me and to address all of you on this function. The book we just released, authored by Shailendra, captures the journey of GST in the last 5 years in more or less in a manner which we look back and read this compilation gives you a true picture as to how this journey went through in the last 5 years. The journey of GST in this country started in the year 2000 and got a concrete policy declaration in 2006, went through a turmoil of deliberations over 10 years, finally culminating in a constitutional amendment, and that heralded a uniform GST in the country, subsumating a number of taxes. But this experiment is not without its flaws, and this experiment has not been a perfect one. But looking back the 5 years journey, some of the unique innovations of the Indian GST, starting with the simultaneous power to levy tax by introducing Article 246A, going away by the list-based approach, has been a remarkable journey. There has been issues with regard to the role and functions of the GST Council, because it's the first of its experiment in a constitutional scheme of things. When we look at the electronically administered tax in a combined manner by creating a GST and portal for not only the back-end processes, for the front-end processes, but also looking at the back-end process for the tax administration, this journey has been one of the very, very captivating, interesting journey. Credit must go to the political leadership of our country, true democratic spirit, the deliberations happening in the GST Council, in a manner that takes care of every stakeholder's interest and going forward has been one of the hallmark of this journey. And Shailendra's book, what just got released in the hands of the Honorable Finance Minister of the State and also the Honorable Justice, just does capture this journey as and when events occurred in the last 5 years. I think it's a great reading to look back and see how have we progressed. And some of his articles were very critical about some of the things which happened at various levels. Some of them got resolved over a period of time, and some of them still continue to be a matter of concern for the taxpayers. And some of the measures which we took in the 5 years journey of GST, starting from the issues relating to the producing versus consuming states concern, the revenue considerations, and also the issues which we have to grapple with during COVID, and also the continuing need for raising revenue to reach somewhere the revenue neutral rate which we were in the year 2016-17 before we moved into GST are still matter of challenge before us. And today's day-long deliberations which happened in this hall, and particularly the GST 2.0 on which the panel experts deliberated upon that, leaves a lot of thought process. And I do carry forward with this one important learning in today's celebrations is how do we make the GST compliance taxpayer friendly, notwithstanding the fact that the tax laws which have been defined and legislated upon would take time for amendment and corrections. Can we make the process of compliance easier and simpler for the taxpayer to comply with? The ask from the GST design is quite high. But at the same time, we need to also keep it in mind, this tax design, what we have envisioned for the country, would achieve its true potential only when it is administered with a human touch. I think that's a great lesson what we have taken forward today. Congratulations once again, Shailendra, for giving us the benefit of experiencing the growth journey of the GST of the last 5 years, beautifully captured in this volume, which captures all the editorials which he wrote as and when things happened. Thank you once again for giving me this opportunity to address this August gathering. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. D.P. Nagendra Kumar, for those words. Moving forward, we would now like to invite onto the dais former Judge, Hon'ble Supreme Court of India, Justice A.K. Patnaik, who has also written the foreword in the book authored by Mr. Shailendra Kumar, 5 Years of Cobweb on GST, Threading the Needle. Request you, sir, to please share your views with us.
Dr. P. Thiaga Rajan, the Finance Minister of Tamil Nadu, Mr. Nagendra Kumar, the author, Mr. Shailendra Kumar, ladies and gentlemen. Now, before I speak on the book and the author, I would like to respond to Mr. Mukesh Patel about what he said about Justice Krishna Iyer and Nani Palkiwala. Mr. Krishna Iyer was ideologically totally left. Mr. Nani Palkiwala was ideologically totally right. And yet, Mukesh ji found Guru in both of them because he is a man concerned with taxes. Whether you are left or right, money or revenue is required by the central government or state government to do work for the poor. Justice Krishna stood for the poor, absolutely for the poor. And Nani Palkiwala said, unless you have good fiscal policy, good budget, raise the resources, the state or the central cannot do work for the poor. That is the convergence. You look at what is happening in Great Britain. The last Prime Minister resigned. Why? She thought that she would ensure a fiscal policy which will bring up the capitalists. That's a right-wing thinking. Rishi Sunak is also a conservative leader, but he thinks this is not the time when this kind of a policy, fiscal policy, can be taken up because of various reasons. So this is a very intricate thing. Fiscal policy is a very intricate thing. And mind you, amongst the taxes, income tax does not affect the poor. The indirect taxes like the GST affect the poor very badly. So how it has to be structured, what levies are to be made, is a very, very intricate subject. And with this, I would now come to my pleasure of releasing this book today, authored by Mr. Shailendra Kumar. First of all, I would like to speak about the author. I did not know Mr. Shailendra Kumar for long. I was introduced to him by a close friend of his in my office a year back, or less than a year back. And then Mr. Shailendra Kumar started sending me in WhatsApp his TIOL, COB, web, and I started reading them. And I appreciated his expertise in the subject of fiscal policy and taxation. If you read the book, the introductory part of the book, you find his tremendous interest in GST. He says he developed an interest in the GST when Dr. Vijay Kelkar, who was the head of the task force, took out the reports on direct and indirect taxes in 2002. And since then, Mr. Shailendra Kumar has been pursuing the follow-up till the GST came to existence in 2017. And it didn't stop there. He continued his interest even after the GST came in 2017. And for 5 years, he has watched the developments and put them in this book. While giving the foreword, I glanced through the book. And I am a judge of the Supreme Court, the High Court. I had been a lawyer also. For 20 and a half years, I practiced law, including taxation law. But during our times, there was no GST. When we practiced or when I was judge, there was no GST. There was first, sales tax, then VAT, then of course there was central excise. All those fields I practiced. Income tax also. But there was no GST. GST, as you know, came into existence in July 2017. Absolutely a new subject for us. Therefore, I don't have any expertise in GST. Don't have much knowledge, and after retirement, I am doing a lot of arbitration cases and some opinions on GST and income tax when they come to me. Therefore, I cannot comment on GST the way our finance minister from Tamil Nadu can comment. Right. But I have been reading newspapers, debates on GST. And the debates particularly between the central government and the state government. I have heard also some debates by him, the finance minister, protesting against some levies, saying how it is unfair to the states. I have also heard Mr. Amit Mitra, finance minister of West Bengal, he was also protesting. And also reading a number of discussions that are taking place with regard to GST compensation. And I find that Shailendra Kumar has dealt with these developments affecting the federal structure, which took place in the last 5 years. And in the book included those relating to GST Council. There was a debate as to whether GST Council is fair. And there was also a debate during Mr. Jaitley's time. They introduced whether GST Council should be headed by a judge. He said, no, not by a judge. Right. A GST Council, whether he will be fair. Then GST compensation to states for loss of revenue. And the attempt by the union government to sometimes impose cess to circumvent GST, so that cess cannot be shared with the states. Mind you, these are very, very important areas, because through introduction of GST, my apprehension was federalism will be compromised. But at the same time, commerce, business and economy will develop, progress, because there will be no barriers. And there will be in all India trade and commerce, which the Constitution also wants for the growth of the economy. Now, this he has captured, and what is most interesting is, during the COVID period, the economy could not generate much of revenue to the GST. The central government did not know how to compensate the state with the GST compensation assured. And a lot of debate took place. There was an opinion of the Attorney General taken that in this situation, they need not pay the GST compensation, may defer it. But then ultimately it has been sorted out, as pointed out in the book, by the central government borrowing and paying the GST compensation that is committed to the states. Then during the COVID period, as you know, many businesses could not comply in time the requirements of some of the GST provisions. And there was an amendment in the Act, I think it's 168A, which provide for force majeure situations to be met by the central government by making a notification or recommendation of the GST Council. So therefore, the book covers various developments which have taken place from 2017, including the developments which have taken place during the COVID period and the new situations that arose. Mind you, Constitution of India, and I said, constitutional law is made for hundreds of years for the country. And the Supreme Court has said some basic features cannot be altered. But the Supreme Court and the High Courts have to treat it as interpret the Constitution in a dynamic way. Very same Constitution remain, but as and when developments take place, the judges have to expand the meaning of Article 21, expand this particular meaning of this particular provision, so and so forth, to take care of this, because it cannot be amended so easily. It will also affect the basic feature of the Constitution. Today, you see, the judgment has come, upholding the quota for economically weaker sections of people. New development. So, that's what happened while interpreting constitutional law by courts. But so far as law is concerned, in taxation law is concerned, here again the economy is developing very fast, changing very fast. And an alert government has to make provision in the taxing provision of GST to take care of new situations. And one development is the force majeure provision that is incorporated now to take care of calamities and unforeseen circumstances. So all this there in his book. Anybody who reads it will understand and appreciate the book. Finally, I would like to say that taxation as a subject, whether income tax law or GST or sales tax, a very drab subject. If you give anybody a book, he will not like to read it, except for those who have got a lot of interest in taxation, those who are taxing, practicing in taxation. And those who are judges, who are tribal members, they have to read it. But generally, nobody would like to read taxation. It's such a drab subject. And the author here, Mr. Shailendra Kumar, has used his talents in language and style to make the subject very lucid, witty, and giving instances which will make the reading very interesting even for the general readers. So I am sure all of you who read these books will like it. I am yet to read it because I have not found the time to read the entire book. I have read some chapters. I am very busy. But if you really find time, please do read this book. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Justice A.K. Patnaik, for sharing those words. And now, ladies and gentlemen, we are deeply honored to have amongst us the Honorable Finance Minister and Human Resource Management of Government of Tamil Nadu, Dr. P. Thiaga Rajan. Talking a little bit about him, he has formerly worked for Lehman Brothers Holding Inc. as well as Standard Chartered Bank, leaving as Managing Director, Financial Market Sales. And I'm sure a lot of you know that he's a man of many firsts. Just to give you an example, while he was an MLA in Madurai for the first time, he did something that had not been attempted in the entire country. He got a camera connected to a police station installed at a bus stop for safety of women. Not just that, you could also access free Wi-Fi while at the bus stop for 20 minutes. A true visionary is here amongst us this evening, ladies and gentlemen. Let's welcome him onto the dais with a round of applause.
The Honorable Justice A.K. Patnaik, Mr. D.P. Nagendra Kumar, former member for GST at the CIBC, the author of this wonderful book, Mr. Shailendra Kumar, ladies, gentlemen, my friends, thank you very much for inviting me to this very happy occasion and for allowing me to participate with such dignitaries in this book release. I'll start where Justice Patnaik started. When it comes to finance, taxation, the administration of government, surely some things are beyond politics. We all come to public service for the sake of improving the life of citizens. We may have different philosophies or different views of what is optimal, what we think will have the greatest impact or the least cost or the least burden. But the ambition stays the same. And for all those ambitions, whether left or right, whether of one particular party or another, we all agree that raising finances for the government, raising revenues for the government, in a just and equitable way is the basis of all government planning, spending, programs, implementation. It's also beyond debate that of the two types of taxation, direct or indirect, there are profound differences. The direct taxation is usually progressive because we identify who we take it from, we know the means from which they pay, and we implement some form of economic justice by raising the rates and the strata at which we tax. Whereas a lot of indirect action, at least the most of it that we see, indirect taxation, is inherently regressive because they're point of sale taxes. We don't know who we collect it from, and we're very, very sure across the world that the bulk of poorer people's revenue or assets get spent in taxable ways. Poorer people spend a greater part of their assets or income on taxable goods and services than rich people who otherwise do investment or asset management or things like that. So as Justice Patnaik said, if we are interested in fairness, in equity, in optimization and efficiency, then in India we have some unique kind of scenarios. The first I'll mention in passing, though it's not particularly relevant today. It's very rare to find a country where the first slab of direct taxation starts at 2 or 3 or 5 times the per capita income. Almost any country in the world, the first taxable bracket starts at some fraction of the per capita GDP, not multiples of the per capita GDP. I think that's something we need to ponder when every time we talk about how small the tax base is relative to the population of the country. It's that small because it's designed to be that way. In every country, if you set the first slab at multiples of the national average income, that's exactly what you'll see. But what we're talking about today is the GST. And the GST affects everybody irrespective of income because every single person pays GST in some product or the other that they purchase during the course of their lives. In that sense, though it's only a 5-year scheme, it is ubiquitous and it is all-impacting. I think the title of the book says a lot about the content. It is truly about threading the needle. There are no easy choices here, as with much of taxation. It is a question of optimizing in difficult circumstances. But I think the real kind of takeaway is the dedication of the author who has toiled through this without a break, despite getting himself affected by COVID, and by the quality of the work that has come out, the nuance and the kind of neutrality with which subjects are handled, as opposed to political or philosophical bias. I don't think it's often that you'll find books on taxation that include references or quotes from singers like Billie Holiday. So I think Sir Shailendra Kumar certainly is a man of many talents and wide erudition. I think also that this is yeoman work because it's hard for me to think of any other work of this substantive either scale or scope over the last 5 years. Of course, it is typical of the humility of the author that he should also, at this occasion, invite and honor somebody like Mukesh Patel, who puts us all kind of in the youth category once he says he has done 50 years of, almost 50 years of publication, and those of us who are serving for 2 or 3 or 5 years or written about 5 years. I think the book is a major contribution because at the heart of democracy is debate. We need multiple voices, multiple views to be heard, to engage in informed debates free of invective. Only then we can arrive at optimal solutions. And in politics, it's important to have a philosophy, a view of the world. You know, opportunism, people switch parties, do many things. At least for some of us, we come to politics with a core ideology, a reason why we do what we do. But even that, I would say that till you deliver results, all philosophies are relatively to be evaluated with the same kind of smell test. Only when we deliver outcomes do we really get to validate whether our philosophy that drove our planning, our strategies, our schemes, our laws actually have been of impact and help to the people. In that sense, when you take something like the GST, we may have many different views of its kind of scope, its ambition, its design, its execution. But very often in life, it's not the decision that you make that is the most important thing. It's what you do after you make that decision and how well you implement that system, how well you follow through on that decision, and whether you deliver the outcomes for it. In that sense, I would say that my great concern about the GST running till today, I may have many different perspectives on whether it was well designed, whether it was over ambitious, whether it was of the right scope, whether it was executed properly on the first day. All that aside, we are where we are today. Today, are we dedicating the right amount of resources, human and in terms of technology and analytics? Are we moving this to its best possible state? I have sincere concerns about that, right? If you look at how often the council meets or how committees deliver reports and what timing we get to, I must say there's a lot of room for improvement, relative at least to the professional career that I came from. Don't get me wrong. I say the council functions with full decorum. I say that everybody comes to the council informed and debates happen in a meaningful manner. I have no political or kind of personal complaints about how the GST Council functions, but I do think that we could be implementing this a lot better with a lot more resources and a lot more diligence and attention than we spend today. For example, the Council is supposed to meet every 3 months, but it doesn't. For example, there are many groups of ministers or subcommittees which have been formed that are not quite executing or in fact meeting when they should. So I won't go too far down that path. I see my time is coming to an end. Let me just congratulate again to Shailendra Kumar. I think this is yeoman work. I think GST will continue to be at the core of our discussions about fairness, about revenue management, about equity. And in that sense, I look forward very much to the ongoing debates that should ensue out of this very readable and very useful book. And I congratulate him again and I thank all of you. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. P. Thiagarajan. And now it's time for me to invite onto stage the author of the book, Mr. Shailendra Kumar, to talk a little bit more about that and tell us what kind of effort has gone into putting it together.
I take honor in thanking Honorable Finance Minister Dr. Thiagarajan, Honorable Justice A.K. Patnaik, and Mr. T.P. Nagendra Kumar, former member GST, CBIC. I in fact owe double thanks to Dr. Thiagarajan and Justice Patnaik for taking the pain and writing forward for the book. Thank you, sir, for keeping me motivated. Apart from releasing the book, of course, in life of every nation, taxation is one of the key pillars on which the nucleus of welfare and governance rests. And in the history of Indian taxation, the GST has come to occupy the central space. For the GST thus far, it has been a mixed ball of experience. A dehydrated beginning with understandable muddle and pain for both the policymakers, the law enforcers, as well as the taxpayers. It took some time, in fact, a couple of years to stabilize with some bittersweet results, and now rightly claimed rich bouts of successes after 5 years. That is how I look at the journey so far. Undoubtedly, there are many more miles to go for the GST. If a balance sheet is prepared, but one can clearly see more entries on the credit side. Some of the stated objectives of the GST introduction have been partially realized, such as a jump in the tax base. It has grown from about a little bit over 64 lakhs to 1.4 crore today. That is the latest GSTN figure. Close to 500 forms and challans prior to introduction of GST, which has been reduced to about 13 forms today. 36 different tax administrations in the country. Now they have turned into a single unified platform-driven administration. Decluttering of our constitutional provisions, particularly the entries in State List 1 and 2 in 7th schedule, and many more, of course. So with marked improvement in the working of the GST network, the compliance regime has largely stabilized. Once the precedence-driven component realizes internal harmony, the eyes need to be barreled towards efficiency and equity. Taxes should not play villain in allocation of resources to different sectors of the economy. After all, GST is a pass-through tax, and at least theoretically, no room should be left for litigation. In coming years, the GST Council should identify major areas of heartache among the taxpayers, and reforms should be increasingly undertaken, particularly in view of the consistently pretty high monthly revenue collections. I do look forward to more foresighted reforms, and such as no more excluding of the excluded sector, loosening of the revenue's grip on the ITC, phased trimming of the exempted sector, and the greater focus on infusion of modern IT tools and minimum litigation. These are the broad heads or components of future reforms where the GST can perhaps undertake. I once again thank the dignitaries on the dais and all of you for your valuable time and precious moisturizer for my keyboard. Thank you.
See, this book has been published by Oakbridge, printed and published by Oakbridge. And I must say, Mr. Shri Chandra is there, who belongs to the Oakbridge, done a wonderful job, very neatly. And I thought this had to be mentioned to this gathering because he has done a wonderful job. The publisher has done a wonderful job in making a very neat book of this. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Many congratulations to you, Mr. Shailendra Kumar. With this, we are almost coming to an end of the evening, so let's end it by felicitating our dignitaries by the TIOL team. Can we please have the vote of thanks? Can we have the token of thanks on the stage, please? I request our dignitaries to please come together for a group photograph. Yeah. Moving forward, I request the TIOL Core Committee team to please join the dignitaries on stage so that they can have a photograph with the entire group that's worked so hard to put this Congress together. Big thank you going to our audience for being so attentive, so engaging throughout this TIOL Tax Congress. Please make sure you join us back tomorrow for the National Taxation Awards. With this, we bring down the curtains on day one. And just before I leave, let me mention that the book that we just released is available at the registration desk outside and is also available on Amazon. You can get a copy for yourself. For now, please don't leave. Join us for a networking dinner. Thank you.